The council received and confirmed the public minutes from Albury Council meeting 25th of November 2025. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Halls, seconded Councillor Reynolds. All in favour? Right. Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. For information, are there any questions? Councillor Webb.
So just following on that, so email, there's no actually update on the action point list in the agenda item, but we did get an email, but it still didn't answer the question that I brought up last time in terms of the asset management plan that was underway earlier in the year. We were told that it was underway, but all the email update talked about was reserve management plans and, you know, like coming in the new year. So my question is, has that asset management plan that was commissioned last year by an independent contractor, has that been complete?
Through the chair, Councillor Webb. Basically, yes, the process hasn't been entirely understood and clear, but there are two parts. We've got a reserve management plan, which is in draft form. There's a couple of things that are required by the LGA in terms of what it must contain, and there were a few items missed. That is now with War Infrastructure. We are due to have that back this week. That process requires the reserve management plan comes to council as a draft to be adopted, to go out for 2 months of public consultation. That then comes back and is fed into the property asset management plan to form our wider asset management plan. It's a big project, actually.
Go on from that. So under the update March 2025 asset management plan report due for completion 30 June. So you're saying that's the report that is coming back this week?
No, the reserve management plan will come back this week in a format that's fit to go out to public consultation. But first adoption by council, then out to public consultation before final adoption. Any feedback or submissions then feed into the property asset management plan, which is a wider portfolio.
Okay,
so it's a bigger process than anyone understood.
Okay.
Apologies.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Reynolds.
Were any of the reserve contribution funds used for, say, the upgrade of Pinakaki sewage system or Mokanui?
Sorry, I couldn't quite understand the question. So,
could you repeat it, Paul?
Maybe I'm a step ahead. No, I'm a step ahead. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you. So the draft recommendation motion that council have received the action points report for information. If there's no more discussion on that, although do I have a mover? Councillor Hingston, seconded. Councillor Hawes. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, I think 5.1, that might have been what you were referring to. Yes, sorry, I jumped ahead myself. So 5.1, use of reserves, contributions, fund policy prepared by Mr. Brent Oldham. So we'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, development consultation with Bronwyn here too, and Simon Bastian is head of regulatory. We did hold a workshop earlier in the year with the previous council, and we provided a briefing on this paper in November, last month. So what's the policy as it's written now is a combination of all that feedback. It's just giving a clear process as to how we use the fund, how we access it, and where we can apply it.
Councillor Barry.
Just a question around the location of development and then the spending of the fund. From a Carter's Beach point of view, in between, a big subdevelopment further south and developments in Westport, that those grounds are used a lot. And so when Carter's Beach would want to look at contributions to the reserve there, is it possible, would they qualify under that 10% can go outside of the areas of development? Is that kind of what that is saying?
Yeah, I think a lot of those, location where we say in the policy as near as practicable, because we had instances where Punakaiki, we don't own any land near, to do anything with other than the campground. So I think each of those will have to be assessed individually as they come forward. So if you look at where the big developments are happening now at Cape Falwyn, so we have reserve land at Taronga Bay, we also have reserve land at Omar, and we have the Carter's Beach Reserve as well. Do we determine that that is, money coming from that subdivision development is appropriate to spend at Carter's Beach? I think that will be a judgment call at the table. Staff could make some recommendations, but yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Reynolds.
I'll get back to where I was before. Do the reserve contributions go into the likes of the sewage improvements at Mokanui and Punakaiki?
Yes, so that's one of the things that have sort of spurred this paper, in that occasionally government funding will come up. So in the case of the effluent upgrade systems effluent system upgrades for Punakaiki and Mokanui, they were 50% co-funded by Tourism Infrastructure Fund, and the remainder came from council. Now that remainder came out of the Reserves Contributions Fund. And so that's in the paper, that how much is still committed, because the Mokanui scheme will be under construction within the next few months.
Thank you. Can I just let everybody know that Caitlin's got everything up and running, so we are live now. Thank you. Councillor Jones.
As far as I'm aware, the legislation says it's not to be used for those sort of upgrades. There's specific uses for reserves contributions. And we've got, say, in this area here, maybe there's an awful lot of it should have been returned to the subdivider, but it's meant to be for increasing the green space. And in this district, we've actually had council reduce green space, and that we used to have a park in behind Westwood Engineering that's been closed, and the population's no different than what it was in the 50s. So I think the funds aren't being used.
If I can refer you to the paper, so the purpose and the objective and the rules around what it can and can't be used for are spelled out. It's also spelled out through the Bullard District Council district plan, and through what will become the TTP1 district plan as well. So it can be used for amenities and upgrades of existing infrastructure. So as Shane was saying, Carter's Beach Hall, there's a toilet block there. There's a hall that needs a new roof once in a while. There's a playground. So it's not just space. It is, but it can only be used on capital items, and it can only be used on council-owned land.
Just one more, and then
So
Councillor Kurtz.
for the likes of the Mokanui and Punakaiki, are there any council overheads taken out of the funds used?
No, so that the fund can only be used for capital investment. Any consequential operating costs are ratepayer funded.
So what I'm asking is the amount spent on Punakaiki and Mokanui didn't have any PDC staff time as part of that budget?
No, we don't apportion staff time against
Very good.
BAU projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Keefe.
Thanks, Brent. Just in the report it says under policy review being, if this is adopted, the policy, it says that be reviewed in 5 years. But then I've also heard today that we can change that time, to maybe 2, or just to see how things are tracking.
Yeah, certainly 5 year you can review, which I think 5 years the minimum review, isn't it?
It's because it's one of our policies, it's one of the nice to haves. We can put whatever period for review there, as the council wishes to put, because it's a council policy.
Thank you. Councillor Reading.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a very small one, thanks, Bronwyn. And if you go to page 39, you've got headings 3.2 down twice.
I knew that. Thank you through the chair.
Just please make sure that's fixed.
Yes, thank you.
Done?
Done.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Reading. Okay, are there any more questions? Oh, councillor Webb.
Thanks, Brent. I remember back in the workshop, we talked about the different types of projects, and there was a bit of a grey area between what is considered maintenance and what is considered a capital. I see that it's not really outlined in the policy, so how will council staff go about deciding whether it falls in the maintenance or capital?
That's an excellent question, and one I asked an accountant I have a very close relationship with. And the question I asked was capital, and I've asked this internally and tried to find a definitive answer as well. The classic is a roof, right? It's the thing that 10 to 15 years, every 10 to 15 years, you need to replace a whole roof or a toilet block roof or whatever. Under strict accounting rules, it is an improvement. It is a capital improvement. So I'm going to pursue that. I really want to nail those things down. But it's absolutely in our plan and in legislation, capital spend only. I'm going to fight tooth and nail that as much of repairs and maintenance that we would normally run as OPEX, that if we can and we can defend it, we will shift that to a CapEx spend.
So if I can just add to that through the chair. So what Brent described is effectively the description of a renewal, and a renewal is an improvement of an asset back to its original state, as opposed to maintenance, which is more of a day-to-day or year-to-year function. So replacing an entire roof is a renewal and would be classed as such, and renewals are always classed as capital.
Councillor O'Keefe.
One last question. Because this was discussed prior to the new council, which is a bit of a shame really, there was that discussion around on point 14, page 29, that it says that the initial staff proposal was to be 10% used district wide. Council does have the power to increase that, so isn't that correct? Seeing how it's a council driven policy?
So the policy says 10%.
Yeah.
A review, you could change it. We only put the number in as a, as a starting point, but it seems to have made its way through. Again, yeah, I mean, there are nuances that could be looked at every proposal coming forward, but I think the intent of the policy was to give some surety to the developers and to staff about where we could and couldn't use it. We know we're getting feedback from developers that they've paid money over and aren't really seeing a benefit to their developments, locally.
Yeah.
Got another one?
It was just for information really to the new councillors that again, one of my concerns was the affected areas by the TTPP around subdivision will be losing out on this with this new policy, because in the past it was more ad hoc around CapEx. Now it's being controlled to only areas that where this subdivision is happening, but within 25k radius.